Oh, hello everybody, welcome. This is the first mission of the brand new DLC from Anno 2070. If you're just here to see whether it's worthwhile or not, welcome. If you're here to get an idea on what you might be doing wrong and how to beat it, welcome as well. This will be a 1 hour play. I'm probably going to fast forward through some of the more redundant waiting parts, but I'll be doing commentary for pretty much the entire thing. So, yeah, massive loading screen. Story, let's go with that. In the last mission, the Initiative had a pretty massive success with the formers. So much so that the Global Trust is having a stock market crash.
May I assume that you are immediately
and
available?
Need you to do all these ridiculous challenges in order to put them back in effect. So this one, you have to keep your environmental standards high while getting to 3,000 engineers, which is kind of weird.
New quest confirmed.
Because
Your services in this matter
for
are
3,000
indispensable
engineers,
to the company.
then I'd never had that many engineers. Usually you get to 1,000 engineers, and at that point you go up to the next tier. So this is really very, very bizarre. So pretty standard opener here. I dropped down some building supplies, and I will follow this up with a community center. So because you can't go below -50, you go below -50, you will be in some trouble. So you gotta be careful with building supplies. Very, very careful. Don't build a shit ton of them, or else you're gonna kind of limit yourself. And this is one of those kind of missions where it's like, if you build too much shit, you might just lose the game. So you gotta be very careful. Don't overproduce. I mean, initially it's pretty hard to go over the pollution limit, but you should, keep that in mind. Put down my fishery, because I need those resources, and I'll put down my coal power plant, which is a heavy polluter, but makes everything run smoother. And I think with Global Trust, if you don't have power for a long time, like for about 10 minutes of game time, people will just leave you.
So one does want to be
as an
prepared
opening
for all
tactic, I will
eventualities.
go to
Here's
all
to our
of the
continued
arcs, all
successful
bases, and
cooperation.
collect all the building supplies and all the tools. And they're all revealed on the map, so there's no fog of war to worry about. And I'm just gonna continue building more homes, doing the homes thing. I mean, I gotta build 3,000 engineers, and that's gonna take about 3 community centers worth of homes. So this is gonna stretch out pretty damn far. So don't worry about overproducing homes at any point. And unlike in the DLC, not the DLC, the event, where you have this tax restriction, there's no tax restriction here. The more homes you build, the more tax revenue you will have. It's not going to set you back, trust me.
Our technologies
I
are
did
complex,
this
but user-friendly.
twice,
Sounds good.
just to kind of see. This is my second run through.
Everything was
in my first run through,
and then someone
I tried to go for a fast leveling tactic, and this one I went for a slow leveling tactic, and the game ended at the exact same point. So, it's not going to matter too much. So initially you're going to get these quests from the Spirit School, the Spirit College. The first one is 20 granules, and after this is 15 liquor. And then there's another 1 to chase people down. And you will want to do these, because the reward for these is going to be little things that will reduce the amount of environmental flux, or environmental destruction caused by your buildings. So this is, a lot of people commentate on how poor my building placement is, and it's true, I do place very poor buildings. As you can see with that casino, it's not going to hit enough stuff there. I should actually put it on the other side, and then shift the casino to the top.
Has been confirmed.
This stuff's just in from headquarters. Hey, a person can count on you.
But it's not going to matter too much because you get a shit ton of money. You don't have to be too efficient.
Registering new population class.
So yeah, back to the environmental things. You'll slot these into your docks,
Ordered goods are ready
your
for
harbors, I
collection.
guess, and they will reduce the environmental impact of a lot of structures. So you're going to want to use them efficiently. You get a really weird one early on, and that's for plastics. And it's weird because plastics is a tier 2, not a tier 1. So it's not immediately useful to you. And with the way that I do this, you have to I lost my train of thought. But anyway, plastics, you have to get a lot of tier 2 citizens, and then you will gain access to it. So it's going to be a long time before that particular one is useful. So, you know, in a normal game, this would be called overproducing. I'm producing way too many homes, but in this game, because I need 3,000 engineers, which is an insanely high amount, I'm not so much off. So with this granules one, you might have noticed what I've done here is I turned off my building supplies production.
This task is probably way beneath
And
your
what that
abilities.
did was
Still needs to be done.
cut off the usage of granules, which is what I need to turn in, and now I have easy access to those. These are all very easy missions, so I'll give you licenses, which you don't need, but are nice, because the current president in power, and he'll probably remain president for quite a while, is Green.
Is this the
Seamus Green,
outline I
or
knew that
Seamus
you
Green? Seamus. And he gives you the ability to increase the amount of production, building supplies, I guess, yeah. So that's tools, building supplies, concrete, and steel for the Global Trust.
SAAT is
Which for this kind of mission is very, very
the whole
valuable,
thing
because
hasn't been
the
thought
last
out
little bit
properly.
is actually just going to be a rush to the end, like just get as many like construction supplies as possible. So here I had too
Would you be
many,
interested in helping me with
and
an
it was
important
unfortunate.
project?
And I'm in a race with this dude, and I'm actually behind. So I had to drop something. You drop things by right-clicking on it. Pretty simple stuff, and I do forget to pick it up, so whoops. So when you get the tier 2, the first thing you always want to do is start tool production, and then you want to do concrete production. And so in this case, I'm going to use a coal mine instead of a coal rotator, because coal rotators use a lot of pollution, whereas coal mines, for whatever reason, don't. I don't know. So
What's
I'm
the
still
current status?
behind in the race, and I will catch up and win. I think he let me win. I'm really suspicious that he let me win. It just seems that he was outpacing me, now suddenly slowing down massively. So
Building selection expanded.
but it's easy enough. You get 3 free modules,
Now I can continue my work in
which will
peace.
slot into your docks. Arc upgrades, I don't get those. Not for this. I don't find it particularly useful here. There's just not big enough communities for that. You're just better off using things like probes if you're using a lot of resource, or just production slots. Like even like higher production of fish work out. Because one thing you're going to find out a lot later is that you're going to use a lot more liquor and fish than you've ever used before. Even like, you know, a society of 5,000 or 6,000, you will not have this high amount of fish or liquor. And this is just because when you have, you know, 100 people in a house and 10 people in the house that use the exact same amount of fish, the amount of fish they consume is based on how many houses are there. So let's say every single building in the game consumes 10 fish. If you quadruple your number of buildings, you're still gonna have 4 times as much fish, no matter like what your population is
You'll
and
find
what kind
everything you
of
need.
citizens you have.
Just,
so it's
drop
kind of
by
an
if you
interesting
need
little
anything
note
else.
that you should have high wine production and high fish production. But you know, early on it's fine to just have little bits. But later on you're gonna be spamming the shit out of wine. It's because it's really polluted in wine. Like I think I have like 20 or 30 wine farms, and I've built a second harbor to support more fisheries. So here we go, we're building some concrete. Sweet old concrete. And
Warning.
this is
Decreased
going to
fertility
become a
due to
slower
pollution.
part of the game. So what I'm doing here is I'm pretty simply, putting down tools, putting down concrete, these are buildings that I can kind of slow down and stop if I go over pollution, and these are buildings that will eventually, you know, they might cap out, so I can save money there too. So not a huge investment environmentally or moneyly, or fiscally, or financially. Those are better words. I preemptively cancel my coal mine, not realizing how little coal I have, and so sends me into an energy crisis. Usually, I'll just turn off a coal mine, a coal rotator once I have a coal mine, because coal mines produce a shit ton of coal, and they can kind of support your entire island.
The company looks after its friends.
So I'm still just roaming around, still collecting resources. Now I'm picking up concrete, and I'm not afraid to do this because you're gonna make a shit ton of money this game from taxes, and you can
Energy
really
supply
afford
inadequate.
it. So yeah, we're gonna drop another little colony here. And this one's a vegetable island. And I'm sorry if I'm playing a little bit fast and not giving you a chance to see stuff, but this vegetable island, this means that's gonna be very good for I call them hamburgers or fast food. I think it's something, what they actually are, something along like disposable
Fertility
foods.
values rising.
I never really check
Registering
because it's
energy
not
shortage.
really important. And I call it like meat, and I call it usually either sand, or sometimes I'll refer to it as spice. I think it's actually called like super spice or something like that. Just, so as far as this goes, spice farms produce a lot of spice. Meat farms do not produce much meat at all. So you'll need a shit ton of meat farms, very little spice farms, and with the actual fast food factories, I think it's actually called convenience food now I think about it. So convenience food factories, you're not going to build a ton of those, and what you want is to have your convenience food factory say 100% of that, or get close to that. And you don't really want to build more convenience factories until you have more farms. Now ideally in this opening build of this, you're going to want to build up enough farms for 3,000 engineers. Just so that when you get to that point, you're not frantically like looking for resources and stuff. You have it there already, and right now you can just sell the surplus convenience foods off to the Spirit Campus. That's what they call the Spirit Campus. And you can, that way you're going to stay in good relations with the Spirit Campus. You won't have to do all their crafting missions, and they won't go to war with you. And yes, people can go to war with you. There's also like, I can't remember his name, it's kind of Asian name, Mutu something, and he is underwater, and he can actually go to war with you as well, which is pretty devastating because you don't actually spawn with anything that can hit underwater units. So yeah, something to consider. So I think I'm just gonna fast forward through this part where I'm just expanding farms. I apologize if you want to watch me individually build farms, but I would have to stop when something important happens.
TG.
Okay, so we're back to expanding our population, and don't be afraid to overexpand. You can get 25 engineers per building, and you need 3,000. So let's do some quick math. God, math sucks so bad. That's gonna mean you're gonna need. God, let me get a goddamn calculator. Let's see. Phone calculator will do. When did I get bad at math?
Additional buildings now available.
I got a university education. I graduated top of my class in philosophy, and I just stopped doing math. So let's see, 3,000 divided by 25 is 120. So you'll need 120 buildings. And that's 120 buildings supported with a casino and a not participation,
Registering
information
energy
to your
shortage.
television station. So yeah, don't worry about overproducing. You will not overproduce. You're gonna need a lot. I'm still gonna need about, say, 3 times as many buildings is what I currently have. So yeah, we're just in the very beginning of the game. Don't worry, you're gonna be fine. You do get a very crudely shaped island, and unfortunately the building space for this island is not the best. At the very beginning of the game you might have seen me kind of sloop around the top. That's because when I played this game the first time, I looked at this island and I saw, wow, this, like, the bottom is all really disgruntled and weird looking, but then the top has lots of space. Not only that, but the top seems to have a better trading path with all the better islands and with the better NPCs and all this stuff, so it just made sense to start up there.
This is your chance.
I mean, if you're failing on this, it might simply just because you started building in the wrong spot, which is a little bit retarded, but that's just the case. So with the environment, you can see here, like, I did this just to kind of show you, like, the consequence of going over, and basically if I don't cut down my environmental losses in 3 minutes, the game ends. And I didn't know it'd be this brutal, otherwise I wouldn't have built the stuff. And yeah, once you build that, it's really hard to get that environmental number down, I'll tell you that much. The environment will become less and less an issue once you get to the next tier, because this, like, there's a building that'll come with oh, what's the name? They're not engineers.
I didn't expect anything else from you.
I suspect they're just called workers or something like that, where basically the number of buildings or homes in the area, or people influencing that structure, increases its environmental output. And yeah, you'll just throw it on those. Like, I've never used those before, I'll be honest. They're a piece of shit. They take up building space, but whatever. You have to use them, you're forced to use them. It doesn't have a big impact on anything at all, which is weird.
I'm giving you the opportunity.
So setting up the first trade route, I'm only going to have one trade route. Eventually I'll incorporate plastics in there as well. But
Have you been able to finish our little experiment?
the first route of this will be going to my base, just for tax purposes, so I get more taxes, and then the leftovers will go to the college. So what I looted there was a environmental thing for disposable foods, or I can't remember what I call them, or convenience foods. And that's just going to lower the environmental impact of the factories. But I don't have a lot of factories there anyway, so it's not going to have a big change. But like, at this point in the game, you're kind of taking what you can get, because honestly, like, at the very beginning, you're kind of on the edge of environmental crisis and losing the game.
New vehicle.
So yeah, got our trade route all set up, and away my ship goes. So here it is. This is the mystical building. I placed them on the edges here, and the reason why I do this is because these are kind of planned building areas that I will eventually expand towards, just the open areas, and that way, as I'm expanding, my environmental record or number will stay intact. And actually, on this island, it is actually viable to have a positive environmental number so that you get more wine production, which will eventually become kind of a big deal. I mean, I have in the end 20 wine farms, and I have positive environment, which gives me more crop yields from my farms. So that's something to consider about how important that is. You can't, the limitation of these, you can only really use them on the island where you have people. They're not useful on my convenience food island, and they won't be useful on my plastics island, which I will
You're a born salesman.
You know, right now. The plastics island is pretty brutal, actually, and like, you're not going to get maximum production out of this one, like game ending production, until much later, just because everything here is insanely
Energy supply
high polluting,
inadequate.
and you can barely even start oil production. Like, I drop 4 oil rigs, 1 oil refinery. I don't know what that's actually called, but it's like the thing that refines oil into in a tube or something. And then I put down 1 plastics battery. And then I put down, you know, coal rotator, and I put down 1 coal plant. And that pretty much covers all the environmental impacts of the island. Good coke. So, yeah, this one is going to be very slow. There will be an item, or not an item, a building, and I can't remember what it's called. It's called like ozone detonator or something like that. Anyway, it's a really expensive building. It costs steel. You're going to buy your steel, and it will pretty much solve the problem of this island. And you're going to be able to, you know, build infinite number of stuff and all that stuff. It'll be great. One thing I did forget initially, but I remembered eventually, is that I do have an item for that island where I can, you know, reduce the environmental impact of the plastics, which is important. So for now, just expanding homes. I mean, I could do to kind of force the evolution forward, but this is not going to at all, in any way whatsoever, slow down the game. This is called the slow evolution strategy, which basically says have all your resources first, have all your homes first, and the game will just evolve everything forward anyway. Right? Very simple way of saying it. Basically, you know, have everything, all your resources ready, and then it'll just happen in one giant push. The fast evolution strategy says only get the resources you need, only build the homes you need to build, just push forward to the next tier, and you'll have more valuable resources, and you'll be able to carry yourself through the game faster. There are scenarios where one strategy will work better than the other, but in this particular scenario, both of these common tactics for building and managing work just fine. So I'm finally including this oil thingamajigger into my trade route. I do, like, with this you do eventually
Let me
need to
know
push
if you
into
find
engineers.
something.
Like, you can't get every single
So we're
plastic
agreed.
you'll need for 3,000 engineers. It's just not possible. And it's just because of the environmental restriction. So you will force forward, and to do this you'll need to have at least 1 information center. Yeah, information center. And yeah, the information center, you can switch the channels. The best one for this scenario is actually to reduce the amount of resources used in
Deal with this problem.
pushing people ahead, because it also reduces the time of pushing people ahead, so it's actually going to speed your game up quite a bit.
There are a couple.
So this is a typical little find people mission. A lot of people say they have problems finding this, and that's because I guess Anno decided to change the color scheme from like
Warning.
blue to like this
Production
radiant blue
halted.
thing, which is like a dog color, you know. And yeah, that's caused problems for people, I guess. So these things aren't working right now because there's no power on this island. If you
Registering
wonder what the
eco
effect
balance degradation.
of having no powers, things don't work. Easy peasy. So I'm gonna overexpand, lots of oil rigs here, and just try and like get as much production I can in this place for the environmental rating I have. And actually, I do think I push it ahead. I think I push it over, and that caused me slight problems. Every time you push it over, like Rufus Thorn will show up and go like, "Hey there, you shouldn't be doing that." And he gives you 3 minutes, and he, you know, shows his index finger at you like, "Naughty boy." It actually reminds me of what's the guy's name? Malcolm
Prove that my faith in you is
I
justified.
can't remember his name.
You'll find what you need.
So wait, yeah, I don't know all
Supply
resource
demand,
producing buildings
right?
just because of environmental restrictions. So just, you know, always buy them. It's a good idea.
Registering improvement in eco balance.
Thank you, game, for registering the improvement in eco balance. So yeah, I decided to kind of like get my resources together, and I should be laying down a information center soonish. I mean, once again, there's no problem at all on lay down more buildings. Because the second I lay down that information center, I will have something evolve. And I only need one thing to get to engineer, to get access to this great environmental indicator thingamajigger. So that's something to consider. I mean, this may look kind of silly right now, just putting down all these buildings, but I mean, honestly, like I said, it has no effect on the game. I mean, it's kind of sad, but really, this is why this DLC is better than the last one. With the last one, it was kind of scripted, and there was actually only one way you could beat it. And in this one, it's very open-ended. They're like, you know, here's all the tools, here's the restrictions, here's the objective. Do what you want, right? So in that way, it's a little bit better to me. I don't know. Maybe people don't like this kind of thing. They prefer something that's a little more scripted. I don't know. So you're gonna go into politics, and I don't have enough for either. The two options available on the very right is building supply increasing, which I'm very interested in because it really pushes the game ahead faster. And the other one is a temporary reduction
Your
of
skills
energy
correspond exactly
cost for all
to the
buildings,
job specification
which
for this
really,
quest.
really sucks. And I wouldn't suggest ever using it. It just doesn't really do anything.
Registering eco balance degradation.
So any second now, we're going to go to the next tier. Now,
Just a few Have you signed
I'll do
in?
this quest while I'm waiting.
Even SAAT has to finance its research.
Yeah, and all the quests in this are actually scripted. I'll just say that right off the bat. You're not going to get different quests from me. You're getting the exact same ones.
Game
Every time you
saved.
play, it's going to be the exact same quests. The longer you play, you'll get different quests, but all the quests will come with a timeline. So, you know, don't think that anything that I do is going to be different from what you will be doing. You know, if you want to win this and you're having troubles, accept every single quest that I do. Put down your buildings roughly the same as me. And collection quest done. Easy quest you always want to do. Costly quest you want to consider. It just might not be worthwhile. So, yeah. Buildings are evolving. Once
Let's
I get
make it
all the
short.
plastics there,
Precisely
they'll
the-
just kind of
Welcome
jump
to
forward,
SAAT.
and I will get access to
The key word is motive.
an environmental thing. I can't remember what it's called. It's like a de-ozoner, like death ball. I can't remember what it's called. Because honestly, when I play Global Trust, I rarely, if ever, actually care about the environment, because all their top-selling shit has nothing to do with the environment at all.
Registering eco balance
I
degradation.
mean, maybe other people can say like Global Trust does play better with a strong environment. I honestly can say though, can't comment. I don't play them that way. I play them as like the you know, the early bust, and then I use the they can put these things on their mines, and that will produce environmental impact. I prefer that as a strategy, just because that's where their strength lies. It's just they can burst so quickly with a lot of money. So yeah,
Global Trust has an urgent assignment.
I'm laying down these structures, and unfortunately that triggers the Rubus Thorn. So I will sleep some of these, and other ones I will not. I just got a lot of oil there, and I really need to get some production of plastics on the go. On the go. Unfortunately, I think this is about as much as I can do for this part. I will be having a part 2 So thank you for watching part 1. Definitely search up the YouTubes and find part 2. And I will see you then. Thanks for watching.
The board will be most pleased. Do you need anything? Glad to help.